Hi everybody, it's Alexa here today from Once Upon a Chapter, and I'm here today to show you the books that I plan on reading in October. I recently filmed a video where I pulled a bunch of books off of my shelf that I knew I wanted to try and get to before the end of the year, and that was like my, end of the year goal to finish those books, and I thought that I would just post that video and not do a monthly TBR because I haven't done a monthly TBR in a little while, I don't think. I know I didn't do one for September. I don't think I did one for August either. Um, but now I'm kind of changing my mind. Dewey's Readathon is in October, and I know I want to get through certain books for that. And I just kind of feel like maybe trying to pull certain books out of that larger pile for the month might help me kind of like narrow it down, because looking at the 15 to 20 books that I pulled out to read is a little bit daunting, and it's a little bit scary to kind of look at those all at once and try and like decide to read all of those books. So I guess I'm going to try to do a monthly TBR for October, November, and December. Here I am in October. I'm actually going to do one. Whether or not I stick to this or whether or not I kind of pick some different books from the pile, I don't know yet. But these are the books that I'm hoping to read in October. First up, I would really like to finish Heir to the Empire. This is a book that's based of like Star Wars, kind of like 5 years after the events of the Episode 6 movie, and this is one of the books Johnny wanted me to read of his in this year, and I haven't read any of those books yet, but he also hasn't read any of the books I pulled out for him. But I'm about halfway through this right now. It's good, it's decent, I am liking it, but it's not something that I would normally pick up for myself. I'm not a huge Star Wars person to begin with, but I am enjoying it, and I kind of wish maybe that the newer movie followed a little bit more of this storyline and a little bit more of what's going on. So I appreciate it for what it is. I'm not sure it's going to be a favorite of mine, but I am liking it so far. So I would really like to finish this. I'm about halfway through, so I have about 225 pages or something like that left. So this is kind of first up. Next, after that, I am currently listening to an audiobook because I've been doing a little bit of traveling. I had to go 3 hours away from my house one day, drive 3 hours away the next day, and then drive 2 hours back like the day after that. So I had like 8 hours where I was in a car in the course of like 2.5 days. So I decided to start listening to an audiobook. One of the things I really wanted to do this year was finish my Harry Potter reread. I know I keep talking about that, but I'm determined to make it happen. And so in order to make that happen, I decided that maybe I should listen to the audio version of the 7th and final book, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And I think that's because when I read this book, the only time I've read this book is like the week that it released, back in, I don't know, when was this published? Probably 2007. But that was the only time, 2007. That was the only time I actually read this book. So it's been almost a decade since I read this, and I remember it being really slow and lengthy at the time and not enjoying it as much as like the longer book of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I flew through that even though it's the longest book. This one I remember struggling with when I was a teenager. So I thought maybe audio would help me get through it a little bit more, because I do really like Jim Dale on audio for this series. So I have listened to about 8 hours of this story so far, which in page count is a little bit over 200 pages. The book is like 750 pages in total. And I have some more traveling that I have to do next week. So I'm hoping that between my 3-hour drive there and 3-hour drive back, I might get another 5-6 hours of this actually listen to an audio. And then I'm thinking maybe whatever I have left of this, if I still have like half the book left, I might try and read a little bit of this during the Dewey Readathon, because on Dewey's Readathon, I like to read things that I know I'm going to enjoy, either things that are fast-paced or things that I know I like, and I know I like Harry Potter, so this might be something that I kind of pick up reading instead of listening to the audio eventually, because I know that my driving back and forth has been happening this month, but my drives, those 3-hour drives to a place and back, is only happening this month. So, I'll listen to what I can. Next up is a book that I've kind of been putting off. I guess maybe I'm a little scared of what's going to happen here, but it is Empire of Storms. This is the 5th book in the Throne of Glass series, which is a series that I really adore. I really enjoy it. I loved Queen of Shadows. It was great. I think I still like Heir of Fire ame the most. I'm not really sure yet. Sometimes my opinion changes, but I'm really excited to read Empire of Storms. This is another one where I know I love her writing style. I fly through her books usually, even though they are always very lengthy. So I might read a little bit of this during Dewey's, or I might try and get to it before then or right after then. Not really sure. Next up is a book that I'm really planning on trying to save for Dewey's Readathon, and that is Tahereh Mafi's Furthermore. The reason that I would like to read this during Dewey's Readathon near the end of the month is it's middle grade, so that's usually easier and lighter to read during a readathon, and the text in this one is actually pretty big. It might be pretty hard to see that on the camera, but the text is pretty big and there's pretty big margins around the page where they left a lot of white space. So I'm assuming that this one will be pretty quick to read. It's also not very long. Well, it is almost 400 pages, but middle grade, like I said, it's easy to read. Next up is some books that I hope to probably read these before the readathon happens. So they're kind of like ones that I want to get to a little sooner because Dewey's Readathon is not until the, I think it's the 22nd, 21st, 22nd. I don't know what weekend that is. Probably the, I don't know. You can look it up. It's that weekend. These, though, I would like to kind of get to before the readathon because I don't think that they would make particularly good readathon books for me. Not because I'm not anticipating liking them, but I just think they're a little lengthy or not a type of book that I would choose for readathon. Or I just want to get to them faster. The first one of those is The Rose and the Dagger. This is the second book and like sequel companion novel to The Wrath and the Dawn. I love The Wrath and the Dawn. I read it earlier this year. It's gonna be in my top 10 of the year, and I really wanted to read this back in April when it came out, and I know you guys are so tired of seeing this because I think I mentioned it in every monthly TBR video that I did do this year since April when this released. This has been in it. And for some reason, I don't know why, I guess maybe again, I'm just kind of scared of an ending in this one because this is like the companion novel and then the final thing of it. I'm just kind of scared of what's going to happen, and I know I'm going to enjoy it, but I just, I guess I'm just, like I said, scared, repeating myself here. Next up that I want to read, because this actually has a publication date, I think sometime in early November, the first week or two of November, is Heartless. I did get an ARC of this when we went to ALA this year, and it was one of the ARCs that I really, really had to have, and I got it, and then for some reason, I just said, oh, you know, I really want to wait until closer to the release date to read this, and now, you know, we're in October, this is going to release in about a month, and I have yet to read it. So I really want to get to this one. I know my copy's kind of messed up. They kind of like, the page cutter didn't get some of these pages in here, so they like stick out from the side of the book. But I do want to read Heartless because I think it's going to be great. I did enjoy, I have read Cinder and Scarlet. I haven't read the last two books in her other series, but I do know I like her writing. And last but not least, an adult book that I'd like to throw in to the mix of mostly YA and middle grade books here is J.R. Ward's newest book, The Angels Share, which is the sequel to The Bourbon Kings. This is kind of like a contemporary romance about a very rich family who distills bourbon, or whatever the process is to make bourbon. And it's about their family drama and about the sons in the family and kind of them finding love, but also having to deal with all of the things going on in their family life. And so this is just something I really want to get to, and it'll help break up the kind of YA middle grade binge that I have going on. So I'm really excited to get to this one. So that is everything I want to read. I know that's probably a lot for me because usually I can only get through anywhere from 2 to 4 books in a month, but I'm hoping that with Dewey's Readathon being a whole 24 hours, that I hopefully will just sit down and read for as much as that as I can. I always have big, lofty goals for Dewey's Readathon, as if I can accomplish reading like my entire bookshelf in 24 hours. But I hope to get to as much of these as I possibly can. Some of these I'm going to take a little slower. You know, Harry Potter, I'm not really trying to finish that this month. I just like to listen to a little bit more of the audio, maybe read a little bit, and, you know, an hour or two out of Dewey's, maybe read a little bit of it, just to kind of break up something reading with other books. But those are the books that I hope to read this month. If you guys have read any of these, or you have any comments about it, or you have a TBR video or pile on your blog, go ahead and link me up to it. I'll go check it out, because I really like looking at what other people are going to read for the month. So everybody have a great reading month. Bye!